Baby Reindeer has put Fiona Harvey on the map, and she's definitely in trouble. Turns out Richard Gadd may, in fact, not be the only one who suffered. But the list is sadly longer than anybody expected. Here are all the other victims of Baby Reindeer's real-life stalker. Fiona's real name opens up cold cases. When a mysterious lady came out of nowhere claiming she's the real-life version of the stalker from Baby Reindeer, you best believe everyone was spooked. And why wouldn't they be? Martha, Fiona Harvey's character from the show, is a walking, talking sign of danger. Now that the fans of the show are seeing the real-life woman who made Richard's life miserable, they're cracking down on the rest of the details in the show. The main question everybody is asking themselves is, did Fiona really have a track record for stalking people? Well, the answer is yes. In fact, our adventure into these cases begins in Scotland. All the puzzle pieces started falling into place when Fiona agreed to tell her side of the story with the one and only Piers Morgan. We all expected some serious explanations being given from Harvey's side, but what really happened was that Fiona ended up revealing more incriminating details about herself. You see, Fiona's full name used to be Fiona Muir Harvey. She explained that it was only after her parents split that she changed it to just Harvey. No middle name, that is. The reason why this detail is so important is that the first half of her name, Muir, is unlocking secrets from a 25-year-old case involving none other than Laura Rae, aka the wife of the late Glasgow MP Jimmy Rae, the Scottish politician. After Baby Reindeer hit the screens and the rumors started flying about Harvey's true identity, an old report from the Scottish Daily Record and Sunday surfaced. The report way back in 2000 pointed fingers at someone named Fiona Muir as the possible perpetrator. And guess what? It speculated that this very Fiona Muir could be none other than our Fiona Harvey. According to the report, the solicitor Mrs. Rae had become Muir's next target. The situation had gotten so bad that Mrs. Rae ended up having to sack Fiona from a trainee post at her firm, MacPhail-Lawrence Partnership, in 1997. But that's still only touching the tip of the iceberg, because the real trouble started when Fiona decided she didn't want to go down that easy. Since she was dismissed, Harvey began contacting Mrs. Rae's office and would leave a whole bunch of threatening phone calls. She even turned up at Mrs. Harvey's house one time to threaten her in person. Of course, when just stalking Mrs. Rae wasn't enough, Fiona aimed her at Laura's nearest and dearest. The icing on the cake was when she snitched to social services. In an interview, Laura said Harvey had cooked up a ridiculous story about her physically harming her son while driving, even though he was fast asleep in his car seat. This is when Laura knew she had to pull out the big guns and file a police report. Luckily, it did the trick. Because once Harvey was under the police radar, she didn't even put up a fight. And just like that, peace was restored. In the climax of Baby Reindeer, Martha fesses up to stalking Gadd and gets a 9-month stint in the slammer. But Laura's stalker insists she's as clean as a whistle, never charged with so much as a jaywalking offense. On top of that, the article in The Sun dished out even more details around the case. They revealed Rae's efforts in warning her entire staff about Fiona. Fun fact, when the show Baby Reindeer first started becoming viral online, Rae herself drew uncanny parallels between her own Harvey-esque encounters and the spine-chilling revelations of Baby Reindeer's creator, Richard Gadd. Recently, as more and more news about Harvey keeps coming up, Laura admits she's scared for her life again. Up until now, Mrs. Rae hadn't given Fiona a second thought in years. But every time someone brings her up now, it's like a floodgate opening for Laura. The memories rush back, her actions, her behavior. Apparently, Fiona has once again been airing all sorts of accusations on Facebook against Laura in real time, and has clearly been painting her in a negative light. It's crazy to think Mrs. Rae was actually able to escape Fiona's clutches at some point years back, especially considering how persistent she is. But when Harvey lost one person to harass, she quickly gained another one. This time, it was yet again another politician. The Scottish politician. You see, the Scottish Daily Record and Sunday threw another bombshell when they revealed who Muir's next victim was. Looks like when Baby Reindeer's real-life stalker couldn't control one politician, she unleashed a torrent of abuse on former Scottish top dog Donald Dewar. To put it in simple terms, Fiona was Dewar's worst nightmare. Just like in the show, Harvey had built a reputation for crashing Donald's events and causing chaos in any way possible. Her aim was to be loud, and that's exactly what she did. But her obsession didn't just end here. Turns out Fiona even went the extra mile and put herself as a candidate for the Scottish Parliament and Westminster. Nobody could believe it. Of course, many people think even Harvey herself doesn't believe she was ever part of these threatening acts back then. Her interview recently with Piers Morgan was nothing short of explosive as Harvey faced off against long-standing accusations from the 2000 report. She denied them all, even though there's proof of police reports. On top of that, Fiona claimed Mrs. Rae was actually the mastermind behind a smear campaign fueled by political ambitions. Sure, in the world of politics, things can get pretty messy. But there's proof that Harvey found herself slapped with an interim interdict where she had to cut off contact with Walker and Rae. When Fiona was confronted by this by Piers, though, she claimed she was the one who walked away and even took matters to court. There's evidence that Richard Gadd also believes Harvey had many other victims before him. And you can see that in the show Baby Reindeer when Donnie uncovers evidence of Harvey's past harassment. His whole world comes crashing down once he realizes he's not the only one. By the time he realizes Martha is very dangerous, though, she becomes such a big part of his life, to the point where no one around Donnie is safe anymore, not even his parents. Richard Gadd's parents were. In the show, when Martha wants Donnie's attention again, she reaches out to his parents. But no, not in a polite way. She straight up tells his parents that their son has passed away. That piece of news sends Donnie's parents in the biggest panic spree of their lives. It's then up to Donnie to visit his parents in person and explain the entire situation to them. It's nerve-wracking, it's tiresome, and above all else, Gadd's character is scared beyond belief. If his stalker can go to such lengths, then she can do anything. Sadly, this part of the story in the show is pretty much true. During an interview, Gadd explained how angry and frustrated he was when he found out Fiona knew where his parents lived. It was only a year after Richard had started talking to Fiona for the first time, and she already knew everything about his family. At some point, Gadd and his parents went to the authorities for help, but just like in the show, nothing really happened. On top of that, in the gripping show, Donnie's assault story spills out on stage raw and real. While his personal life was falling apart because of Martha, at least his career was kicking off. But in real life, as Gadd remembers the chaos before Monkey See, Monkey Do's first show, he felt like everything was crashing down. What's because, though, that the show ended up saving him. The audience loved him, supported him, and listened to his story, scars and all. Once Richard Stalker found out how well he was suddenly doing in his career, though, she was furious. So what did Fiona do? What she always does, really. Harvey ramped up her harassment and even threatened to reach out to his parents again. Gadd, hailing from Fife, grew up in a fairly ordinary family. His dad worked in a university lab, while his mother held various jobs in schools. Though they were supportive, Gadd never felt comfortable discussing his struggles with abuse or his confusion about his sexuality with them. But the scene in Baby Reindeer where he rushes to Scotland to confide in them before Martha strikes again is nerve-wracking. What made viewers even more angry is that Donnie had to forcefully out himself before he was ready because things were getting so out of hand. This aspect of Richard's life was one of the many things his stalker took away. And it's sad to see that he wasn't the only one who suffered at the hands of someone so dangerous. Let us know in the comments below what you think about the relentless stalking pursuits of Baby Reindeer's real-life stalker. And make sure to subscribe for more.